Hi all, welcome to the latest podcast episode here from Avoiding Broke. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see that I'm by myself. Unfortunately, Jermaine can't be with us today. So it's just me, so you're stuck with Leanne for today. So what I thought I would do, because I'm on my own, is tell you a bit more about me, just in case you're wondering who the people are that sit behind Avoiding Broke. And this actually is part of the feedback that we got from some of our listeners that are saying, it's great, but we really want to know a bit more about you. So I thought that I would take this opportunity to speak a bit about me while I'm here and I have the floor all to myself. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Before I begin, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has been talking to us, supporting us, chatting with us about your financial situation and how we've helped you, and also giving us some ideas about things that we can talk about in future episodes. So thank you all for coming on the journey with us. And like we said, if you're watching this on YouTube, hello, and if you're listening on the podcast, welcome. Okay, so let's get stuck into this, shall we? So I am Leanne and I am one half of the team behind Avoiding Broke. The other half of the team is my husband, Jermaine. We're just going to dive straight in, I think, and tell you a bit about me. So I guess Avoiding Broke covers financial education, career advice and positive mindset. And those are three things that actually mean a lot to both myself and Jermaine. And I think we've gone on journeys with all of those things. So we're kind of sharing with you our experiences and what we learn, and everything that we talk about on Avoiding Broke is stuff that we've lived, we've learned about, and that kind of means something to us. So I'm, like I said, I'm Leanne. I am an economist by training. I studied economics at university, and married to Jermaine, and I have a little boy called Theo who is 19 months. 19 months. He's actually 20 months today. Oh my gosh, the time is just flying by. Yep, he is 20 months today. So I guess my financial journey, which is I guess what I'm going to focus most on here rather than say like career and positive mindset, I'm going to tell you about my financial journey. That probably started when I got my first Saturday job, which I'm sure happens for a lot of people out there. You kind of get your first job, even if you've had pocket money here and there. I never really had pocket money. It was more that if I was going out with friends or something like that, then my parents would give me money to do those kind of things. But I didn't really get a set amount each month that I could do what I wanted with. So I never had that growing up. But yeah, like I said, always had the money to go and do things, or if I ever needed anything, then my parents would obviously get it for me. So then I got my first taste of having like a regular income when I got my first job at the age of 18, when I was in sixth form. And I may have actually been 17, sorry. I'm getting myself confused here. I was 17. So I worked in Dorothy Perkins, which is a clothes shop in the UK. And I got a job there. My best friend worked there. And we thought this would be great. We'll get a job together, earn some money, and we probably thought we were going to have a bit of a laugh together. So I worked in Dorothy Perkins and I was paid about £3.77 an hour there. And then, I got that money in. But my relationship with money at that time was I got money and then I spent it. So I was paid weekly, which was really nice at that point. Obviously, it wasn't very much. I think I was working 8 hours a week at £3.77 an hour. So I wasn't being paid huge amounts, but whatever I got, I spent. See, I was still young, still going to school, still lived at home with my family. So I didn't have any kind of real expenses at all. And I just wasn't thinking about saving or the future or anything like that. It just didn't even enter my head at that age. And it wasn't something that was, say, like normal conversation for me growing up about, make sure you save, make sure you do this. Education was a big thing in my household with my family. It was very much like, get yourself a good education, get yourself a good job and provide for your future. But saving didn't really come into it for me personally. And so I got my money and I spent it. And for me, that was shoes and bags and clothes. So those are the things that I used to like. And as I kind of got older and I'd go out with my friends in the evenings, maybe on like a Friday or a Saturday night, then you wanted to look nice. That was a big thing to me. I wanted the latest clothes and follow the latest trends, and I'd go out. But what that meant was that I'd be paid and I'd spend my money straight away. It would be gone. So that's my very early kind of relationship with money, and that kind of stuck with me for a good while, actually. And I think if some of this sounds familiar, if you've seen Jermaine's YouTube video, he did a really great video on his kind of money mistakes in his earlier years, say from 18 to 20 something he did. So that's on YouTube, so go and check it out, because I think we both had quite similar starts there, where we get our money and we spend it. And that may be true for a lot of people. I'm sure there are lots of people, you out there, who can kind of relate to that. If you don't have any commitments, you're not thinking about the future, all of that stuff seems so far away, that you get your money and you do things that you enjoy with it. Money for me was always about doing things that I enjoyed, that enjoyment. And that probably did stem from the fact that I didn't just get money every week in terms of pocket money, like I said, so that if I wasn't doing anything, I could store it and save it and things like that. I just got money as and when I needed it. So yes, that for me was that relationship that I had with money. You get it, you do something that you want to do with it, and you spend it. And that carried on. So that was when I was 17. Like I said, I got that first job, and through to when I went to university. And then when I went to university, I got my student loan. I had a credit card at that point, because you can get one. I got one with my student account. But I was actually quite good at that point. I didn't really use the credit card at all. I used my student loan, and my parents gave me money every month to help pay for my living expenses, particularly in my first year before I got a job. And then I worked through university. And then I got, I guess, my real sense of, okay, so you're earning money, you're getting money in, but then you have bills to pay, because you've got your rent to pay. And especially when you get out of your first year of university, I was thinking, okay, so I had gas and electricity and food shopping to do and things like that. But in fairness, it was all fine. And if I ever got stuck, I would call my mum and dad and see if they could help me out. But I didn't really get stuck that often at all, really. And they would help out with kind of the bigger things that I needed at university, in terms of like tuition fees and things like that. But yeah, then you kind of got myself into this false sense of security that I'd managed while I was at university to look after my money. So then when I left university and got my first proper job, then I'd always thought to myself, Leanne, do you know what? You are really good with money. You are fine during university. You were absolutely fine there. You had your summer jobs when you came home from university, so you carried on working there. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'm pretty good with money. I'm going to be fine here. But what I hadn't realised was that I got my first proper job. So I got a job in London as an economist when I left university, and you got an okay graduate starting wage. It was definitely a decent wage. I was very happy with it. And then again, I was still living at home, didn't really have any commitments. I didn't have a mortgage, didn't have a family, didn't have to worry about doing the food shopping and paying the gas and the electricity and those kind of things that I did while I was at university. I came home and yeah, all of that had gone. So then again, when I got my money in, I just had no reason to even think about saving or anything like that. And that's one thing that I didn't do. And I don't think at that point I understood kind of the benefits of tucking some money behind so that you've got kind of a little safety net there if anything comes up. And also I had no idea about compounding. I was an economist, and these are things that I should have actually been thinking about, but I just really wasn't thinking about, if I start saving now, then I'm going to benefit from that compound interest, and actually things grow exponentially when you get interest paid on the amount you have in your bank account, and then you get interest paid on that much bigger amount that you've got in your bank account, and that just keeps happening. Didn't even enter my head. I was far happier thinking, I've got this money now, I've got a decent wage, I can buy the things that I like, I can go on holiday and that kind of stuff. And I think one of the things I really wanted to talk about today in terms of me and my financial journey is actually holidays. So growing up, holidays were always quite a big thing. We used to go on holiday, me, my mum, my dad and my sister and my two older sisters when they came with us and their families. was going on holiday. And we had an annual holiday which we looked forward to all year. We'd book well in advance, look forward to it, and my parents would save up to take us on these wonderful holidays. So I've got great childhood memories of that. And I think Jermaine was the same. And so when we then got together, we've been together since we were 17. Then when we both got our jobs after university, holidays were a really big thing for us. And we used to, again, do like what my parents did, save up and go on these big holidays together. But the thing that we did was we didn't just do one a year, we do several a year. We do 2, 3, sometimes maybe even 4 holidays a year, because that meant something to us. That was a special part of I can talk for myself, of my childhood and growing up and spending that time with my family, and I believe Jermaine's was the same. But also of the time that we spent together, we'd had wonderful memories and things like that. And I think the more that you do those things and the more you see how much you enjoy it and the different places that you want to go to, is the more you do it. But again, I'd convinced myself then that I was a good saver, that I could put my money behind and I could save, because I could save for things like holidays and pay for those, and save up and buy flights, and then save up for spending money. But that's not real spending, and that's part of the journey that I've had to go on here, is to realise that's not actually that's not real saving, that is just putting your money aside to spend later on. And that's one of the things that we actually talk about in our book, and that is really from our past experience there. So yeah, so holidays, that would be then where my money would go. And that, I guess Jermaine and I carried on like that for quite a while actually, getting our money in, spending it. But because we had decent jobs and we were getting a decent salary, you kind of convince yourself that you're okay, it's fine. We can afford this, we can afford that. And the amount of times that we'd be thinking about something, for example, like booking flights to go on holiday, you're like, oh yeah, we can afford that. And when you think about those things, you think about that one specific thing, say booking a flight, and in your head you're comparing that against the amount that you maybe take home on a monthly basis, then of course you would say to yourself, yeah, I can afford that, that's fine. But what you're then not doing is thinking, oh, okay, well, I've got this kind of everything else that I'm doing, and I'm not thinking about the different buckets where I should put my money. And I know we've done other podcasts talking about budgeting and make sure you save in your emergency fund and things like that, but that's really not something that I was thinking about when I was younger. So yeah, so I guess I've given you an insight into younger Leanne and the things that I used to think about in terms of holidays being a big thing, not really thinking about saving, convincing myself that I could afford things like clothes and shoes and bags and things like that, which I used to love, but really not having a safety net and not knowing that I was just around the corner from being broke. If I'd lost my job or something like that, I'd have nothing to fall back on because I wasn't saving, I wasn't thinking about those kind of things. So then you may think to yourself, okay, so what changed? Because now, as you can probably tell from our podcast and the videos that we make and things like that, being financially aware and saving for the future and financial education is a really, really big thing for me now. And it all changed, I think, when... Firstly, things changed when Jermaine and I decided that we wanted to buy a house, and we knew that we'd have to save up for a deposit and things like that. But again, that was saving up for a particular thing. And while we thought it was sensible then that we were saving for a deposit, again, we didn't really have the long-term mindset here. And I think for me, I definitely wasn't thinking about anything long-term, retirement, having an emergency fund in case anything went wrong, having a pot so that if we decided we wanted to have a family at some point, which we eventually did, but at that time we weren't thinking about it, and so we weren't thinking about having that money set aside for that. And so that was one thing that changed, where we decided, okay, now we need to think about holidays and stuff like that, and the trade-off then, and so it started to become clearer then about the trade-off between monies, because we wanted to save for a house and we were getting married. I forgot to add that bit in. But then I think it really, really hit me about the importance of financial education, making sure you have a safety net and thinking about what you want your financial future to look like. So really taking accountability for your future and really thinking, I am in control of this. What do I want to do? I think really came along after we had Theo. So Theo was born in January 2019. And then we really decided then, for me anyway, it really crystallized then that I want to have a secure financial future. I want to have something that I can pass on to Theo. And ultimately, I want time with Theo, because as you get closer and closer to, say, going back to work after my maternity leave, it started to dawn on me there I was sacrificing time, and I needed to do that, sacrifice my time for money, because I needed to pay for my mortgage and put food on the table, pay for Theo's nursery, pay the gas and electricity and all of those kind of bills that you have. So yeah, I definitely have to do all of those things. And so I really started to notice then the trade, and that I didn't have that buffer, and that if anything happened to me, I had no buffer. And also, it really dawned on me then that I had to keep trading my time for money. And so Jermaine and I, we thought to ourselves, in the best way that we know how to do these things, we started reading so many books on finances. So people like Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, just so many, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Jill Fielding, her book on solving the financial puzzle, just so much that we decided we are going to learn, we're going to educate ourselves, and we are going to ultimately, after reading Think and Grow Rich, we decided we needed to have a big goal, and our big goal was to get financially free, and so that we could spend our time with our family. And that was for me at least, definitely the thing behind my goal there, was wanting to spend time with Theo. And if you've watched our video or listened to the podcast on setting big goals, that's one that I did a good few weeks ago now, you'll kind of understand the process that we went through in terms of trying to set those big goals and keep asking ourselves why, and really trying to drill down into the bottom of your goal, right into the heart of it, so that it's something that's really tangible and something that means something to you, so you will make changes. Because let's face it, I still love going on holiday, I still love clothes shopping, I still love shoes, I still love bags, but now I've got a bigger purpose in life. And so I think that journey for me to realize again that trade that you're doing when you're spending your money on something else and what you could actually be doing for it, and knowing what it means for your future, just that has been a huge journey to go on. And so now we're thinking more about, how do we replace our employment income with other income? How can I educate myself in financial education so that I can pass these lessons on to Theo? Because if you think, when Theo was born, I was 34, and that's a long time actually of my life that I'd spent not really thinking that much about finances, or convincing myself that I was okay at saving, and that I had a good job and so I was going to be fine. That's an awful long time to think that, before then realizing, no, that's not actually the case. You need to get yourself educated, Leanne. You need to get yourself a goal. You need to start making changes, and you need to actually take the steps to get that positive financial life. And so for me, it's been a real journey, and I'm really pleased that I'm actually sharing this journey with you guys, because hopefully then you'll get to see that maybe the place where you are in your journey, in your financial journey of stuff, then I may have been in exactly the same place. Maybe there's something that I've spoken about here that you can relate to, because financial education isn't taught in schools. This is not something that we've been taught in schools at all. So really, it's on us to teach ourselves. And you may be lucky enough that your parents are financial savvy, and so they can pass on these lessons. But again, I'd like to remind myself that my parents weren't taught this stuff in school either. So actually, we need to teach ourselves these things. And for me, that journey has been lots of reading, lots of watching things on YouTube. There is, oh my gosh, I cannot stress enough the wealth of information that there is on YouTube. And I know if you're watching this on YouTube, then hopefully you know the benefits of YouTube. But if you're listening to this on the podcast, or if you don't really use YouTube that much, then please go out there, search for things on YouTube. Financial education, there's so many different things, whatever you are interested in, whether it's investing in the stock market, investing in property, whether it's just basic budgeting, or how to build your credit score, those kind of things. There is a wealth of information on YouTube. And so I've definitely made use of that, and I will continue to do that, because I know that this is a journey that I am still on and I am still learning. And while I know that I want to share what I've learned already with you guys, and I really hope you find it useful, I'm going to keep learning, so I have more and more to share, and more that I can pass on to Theo, because ultimately that's incredibly important to me, to kind of make sure that Theo's not 34 or 35 when he's thinking of these things, that he's thinking earlier in his life of these things, and just give himself just a wealth of opportunities. So guys, I think I may leave it there. I've shared kind of my journey with you, and I'm going to keep going on this journey, but I think the most important thing, if I can get this across to you guys, is the investment that you make in yourself. And even if you think to yourself, oh, I'm great at saving, I'm great at this, really ask yourselves whether you are as good as you think you are, or whether you're overconfident, just like I was when I was a bit younger. And guys, please get yourself educated, take responsibilities for your financial future, and really go for it. It's amazing the things that you'll be able to do once you kind of take control of those reins, and you put that effort in, and you learn and you grow and you ask questions and you don't make assumptions, and you just keep growing. And I would say, guys, on that note, I'm going to leave it. I hope that you have enjoyed this kind of brief insight into me, into Leanne, and how I used to think about money and how I think about it now. So yeah, and I know we talk a lot about money, and money can't buy you happiness, but what money does do is it gives you options, and those options are usually what then can bring you happiness. So whatever makes you happy in life, work towards that goal, and part of that is going to be investing in your financial future. So guys, thank you for coming on this journey with me. I hope now that you feel like you know me a bit better, you know Leanne a bit better, and I really can't wait to speak to you again next week on the podcast. I'm sure it'll be Jermaine and me next week on the podcast. And if you would like to connect with us, we are across the social media platforms, even TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, at AvoidingBroke. We're also on YouTube, and you can check out our YouTube channel. We put lots more videos on there, not just the podcast videos, but also plenty of other videos on there on career advice and finances and positive mindset. So go and have a look at that. That's the AvoidingBroke channel. And guys, we'll also have the podcast again next week. So until then, guys, you take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much for listening in, for joining us. And guys, you take care.